Hey, I'm going to show you a few exercises for the back, for both strengthening and stretching. You might hear a tractor in the background. That's my husband. We live on a farm. This is our life. Um, the first thing I'm going to do, a lot of this is going to be 4-point kneeling, which means like this. So I suggest doing this on carpet or with an exercise mat or something like that. The first thing is to come into this position. And then we're going to do what we would call, I guess, angry cat, happy cat, which involves rounding the back and then slowly arching the back, sticking the tail out. And moving slowly and purposefully between these two positions. This involves pelvic tilting, which you can see here if I just tilt my pelvis. It looks like my whole upper body is moving, and I suppose it is, but the main mover here is my pelvis. Luckily, I've got these lines on my tights, and you can see the difference it's making. That is one of the biggest movers of your low back. So if you're having low back trouble, I suggest doing this. You can also, if you sit on a chair, feel your sit bones. Feel that you're sitting right on top of them. Roll forward so that you're kind of more up on the back of your thighs. And then roll. You hit your sit bones again, but keep rolling back till you roll right off them and you're just kind of up on the middle of your bum. And then forward again. It's a tricky one to master. It's a tricky one to talk people through. It's even trickier to talk them through it in another language. So this is something that I find is a struggle for some people. But it's really key to loosening up and strengthening your low back. Another one, in terms of strengthening, would be to extend your leg back if your balance is good enough. Extend the opposite arm straight out in front of you. If you've got a mirror, then you can judge how straight your line is. It's not bad. So then we have the opportunity of working with, we talk about slings as basically the relationship between opposite sides and ends of the muscles in our back, which can affect different, means different limbs on different sides of your body, if it can affect one another, like right shoulder and left hip, for example. Okay, so there was that one. And then we can take it a step further, adding an element of stretch by starting with that extension and then pulling that opposite elbow and knee in underneath, and you see how my back curls. So it's encouraging a good natural movement, which is sometimes the problem for muscles or joints that are hurting, typically muscles, where what we find is that the muscles are still working, but maybe not mechanically in the way they were designed to. And so sometimes just kind of reintroducing that normal movement or normal function for a muscle can be exactly what it needs to alleviate pain or to fix the problems there. Another thing that I quite like to do is just to stretch. I've got to do this in a way that you'll see. I'm just going to, I'm in 4-point kneeling here. shoulders directly over wrists and hips directly over knees. And I'm just gonna sit back on my heels. If you need to, you can maybe inch your hands forward a little bit on the floor, just so that you feel a nice stretch throughout your back. And just let yourself relax. Child's pose, I guess. And then we're going to do a bit of a variation on that, which will be to walk your hands around. Your knees stay where they are, but walk your hands around to maybe 2 o'clock. And then you're going to begin to sit back on your heels again, and you'll feel a nice stretch throughout the side that's being stretched. If you're at 2 o'clock, that will be your left side. So just give yourself some time to breathe in this position. Okay? And then repeat that on the other side at 10 o'clock. Oh, my mom would hate this. My midriff is showing. Oh, gosh. Yes. So try to keep your hands, keep your hands fixed. English has gotten hard, it turns out. Okay, another thing that we can do while you're in this 4-point kneeling. I love 4-point kneeling. It's such an effective position and takes weight that it offloads your back while you're trying to work on it. So you can see this better if I do it this way. My big shoulders are in the way. So what you're going to do is look over your right shoulder towards your bum, and that might mean you have to kind of stick your bum to the right a little bit. So maybe you can see this here. Oh, I don't have a lot of movement here, but we're going to go from side to side, just kind of like a dog wagging its tail. Fantastic. With all of these movements, there's no rush, and you can hold the extreme position of the movement, or if you just go through it slowly, whatever feels best for you. As long as you feel like it's getting into the place that's hurting. I often find that since our bodies are all a little different and no one looks quite like an anatomy poster, so oftentimes a stretch is something you just need to kind of fiddle around with, move around enough until you feel like you've found that spot and stick with it. Okay, one more exercise that's a little bit more rotation based, such as this, I mean you could just do that, is to do the 4-point kneeling again. This is a little bit more mid-upper back, and what you're going to do is to reach one hand under and through the other side, and then open up. I think sometimes you could do this in a plank if you're like super fit. I can't. Well, let's try. Actually, some aspects of it are easier. You find a position that works great for you and stick to it. But it's just to try to encourage some rotation, a stretch under and upward. I can't really stretch that far in this exercise. Oh. Anyway, you get the idea. Another thing for rotation, I'm just going to move this a little bit closer because I'm going to treat myself to laying on my bed for some of my exercises. Nothing wrong with that. Lumbar rotation. Knees bent up, feet on the bed. Try to keep your shoulders planted. And just let your knees roll side to side. A good stretch with that. That's definitely a favorite. We can also make sure that your bum is getting a good stretch too, because that can have a knock-on effect. I don't know exactly what it is that's bothering your back just now, but like say the leg bone's connected to the hip bone or whatever, the muscles are the same. And with any of these stretches, honestly, I'm going through things very fast, but it's a good idea sometimes to hold this stretch statically for, gosh, up to 30 seconds. If you are finding that this stretch feels really effective for you, it's a little bit sore, and it, then go with it and hold it for even up to 30 seconds, even up to a minute, because that's your body is responding to that, and that's probably exactly what you need to be doing. And also, I haven't really given you a number of repetitions to do or anything like that. I mean, we're always like physical therapists are like 3 sets of 10. That's kind of across the board. We often say that, but it might be a good rule of thumb to go to 10. You could just kind of go to the point of, okay, that side's tired now, I'm switching to the other side. If you find yourself out exercising, out in the neighborhood, out on the road, can't lay down, can't kneel down, here's something that you can try. So we've got, again, kind of stretching the glutes. I'm pulling on the pelvis a little bit to hopefully kind of get a little bit of a stretch in the low back. You can also use your arms as weights. Just let yourself stretch out a bit. More hands on the ground. A little bit of rotation. And roll up like one vertebra at a time. Or even finding a place to stretch out your hamstrings can be effective, because again, hamstrings connect to pelvis, and your whole back connects to your pelvis. Well, the whole of your back connects to your pelvis, but all the muscles connect at different levels throughout your back. So anyway, I hope that this is helpful. If there's something more specific that you could say, just shoot me a line, kind of describing where your pain is, what it feels like, what triggers it, what alleviates it, and then maybe I can get a little bit more specific with exercises. But here's where you start. Best of luck. Okay, I've moved rooms because my bed is not high enough to do this. If yours is, lucky. But I'm just going to get myself positioned. I may shock my cat, who's down in the corner, by doing this, but hopefully we will be okay. So hips right up against the edge of a couch, the arm of a couch, or the edge of a bed, or something like that. And then just going to you might have to come forward a little bit, but literally just going to let my torso hang down. So that I can get a bit of stretch in these muscles, a little bit of decompression along my spine. Oh, don't do this if you have to go to the bathroom. But if you tolerate it,
Well, do it as long as you tolerate.